What if your anxiety isn't something to fix, but a sign that your identity no longer fits with who you are becoming? I know that sounds deep, but stay with me because this one mindset shift changed everything for me and allowed me to holistically heal from my high functioning anxiety. Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm a wellness counselor, and I help women self-heal and align with their highest self through clinical psychology, energy work, and neuroscience. And in this video, I am sharing the exact mindset shift that allowed me to stop overthinking, living in self-doubt, constantly feeling low self-esteem, and really allowed me to bloom into the highest, most aligned version of myself. So a little backstory, I think that anxiety is just a really pretty way of saying prison. When I was struggling with my anxiety the most, and this was like middle, high school, into early college times, it went completely unnoticed. I seemed fine, thriving even. But internally, it felt like I was constantly swimming upstream, like I couldn't catch a breath. I was overthinking everything. I had immense perfectionism. I was so worried about how people were perceiving me. I never felt like I was doing enough, and I was just simply paralyzed by my own self-doubts and fears. But outwardly, no one would have known. I was high achieving, I was friendly, I was healthy, but inside everything was complete chaos. This began in middle and high school, but really peaked in my early undergraduate days when I felt like my entire worth and identity was tied to my external output, to how well I did in school, to what job I got. It was exhausting, and at that point, my mental health was starting to affect my physical health and even my relationships. It felt like my entire world was crumbling down. And I hit my boiling point when I realized I had this massive shift in my brain when I realized that I was meant to live a much bigger life than the small one that my anxiety was keeping me in. I knew I had a calling and a mission in my heart to do something with my life and make something of this world and to just feel peaceful, content, and happy. I wanted to travel. I wanted to grow a family. I wanted to build a business that genuinely helped people. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do any of that if I didn't fix my anxiety. But despite having this awareness, I still couldn't bring myself to fully show up and face my fears. And that's because deep down, I was still living as an old version of myself. I was living as the version of myself that learned to stay small, be agreeable, and make everything look perfect. And I felt like I just couldn't shake that identity, even though I was exhausted and even though it did not feel like it aligned with me. But luckily, everything changed when I had this massive mindset shift, and I really attribute it to my own personal development work that I was doing at the time. I was seeing my therapist, I was seeing my ITA energy medicine practitioner, I was meditating and journaling every single day. I was really working on myself to get rid of my anxiety, and then I feel like a light bulb just went on one day. And so here's the mindset shift that really changed the game for me. It's really simple, but it's so powerful. It is this. I realized that healing my anxiety wasn't about fixing myself, but about becoming myself. And even saying that right now, it feels like it just takes all the pressure off. And I realized that in order to do that, in order to become myself, I had to choose, I had to assume a new identity, not based on who I had been, but rooted in who I want to become. And now this is where my work really converges, where neuroscience, psychology, and energy work really go hand in hand. Your brain is wired to protect what you know. It's wired to protect your current identity, even if that current identity is making you miserable. And also, your nervous system is wired to keep you where you feel familiar, keep you where you feel comfortable, even if it's causing distress or pain, even if it doesn't align with who you really are. I see the subconscious mind as like the hard drive to a computer. It just plays what it's been programmed, even if what it's been programmed is false, outdated information or limiting beliefs keeping you trapped in your own state of anxiety. So even though anxiety wasn't helpful for me, my subconscious and the neural pathways in my brain were really rooted in that identity, in those habitual thought patterns, and it didn't want to let go of that. It wanted to keep me where I was familiar. So when you try to heal your mental health or rewire limiting beliefs or really just become the best version of yourself without doing that identity work underneath, your systems will start to panic. You will self-sabotage. You will retreat back to what's comfortable and normal, even if it's painful. The way I describe it to my clients is like this. A beach ball floating in the pool will just naturally float there. And to get it below the surface, you have to take your hands and really apply a lot of pressure to keep it below the surface of the water. That is exactly what is happening with your anxiety. Your natural state, Your balanced and aligned state of being is feeling peace and calm. But all of the limiting beliefs, past experiences, conditioning patterns, past memories, fears, all of that, that is the weight. That's like your hands pushing that beach ball underneath the surface. So the weight of all of those things that no longer align is what's causing the anxiety, preventing you from just naturally being in your state of relaxation. So it's really less about what you need to do in order to heal your anxiety and more about what you need to let go of to assume your natural state of balance. But how exactly do you let go of the misalignments that are keeping you stuck? That is what I want to talk about today. Everything changed when I started to ask myself, who exactly is my most aligned self? What does she do? What does she wear? What does she create? What are her hobbies? Who does she hang out with? How does she talk to herself? What is her morning and night routine? What type of books does she read? What food does she eat? How many walks does she go on a week? But then I took it further and I asked myself, what does she do now that she's not anxious? How does she take risks? How does she speak to herself in her head? What is her perspective of the world? How does she show love to herself? How does she handle failure and rejection? The list started to go on and on. I just started to ask myself, who is she? Who is she? Who is she? This version of myself that's balanced and peaceful, this version of myself that no longer feels anxious all the time, this weight on her chest, this perfectionism. Who is she? I got so clear on who that version of myself without anxiety was that it became very evident very quickly everything I needed to do in order to become her in this present moment. The routines, the rituals, the thought patterns, the way of looking at life, all of those things that I needed to assume in order to naturally become her now. That is when I started to speak my truth more freely, take many, many rests and breaks without guilt, release perfectionism, set boundaries with a lot of confidence and self-love, put myself out there and get outside my comfort zone, take initiative and assume the best case scenario, discover what actually made me happy and then spend time doing it and putting it on my calendar. And that's when I started to feel more calm and balanced than I've ever felt before in my life. And it wasn't because I did a specific intervention or because I meditated for an hour a day. I mean, those things are helpful, but it's really when I decided to become the version of myself that no longer felt anxiety. It was when I chose that new identity over the old story. And it wasn't easy. The growing pains were definitely there. It was uncomfortable getting outside of my comfort zone and changing my neural pathways, but it was so worth it. I feel better than I ever have in my entire life, all because I decided to really ask those questions, reflect on the answers, and then implement that new identity shift. So now I want to give you one of the exact tools and practices that I give my clients to support you in doing the same. And it is this. First, ask yourself, what part of my current identity no longer aligns with who I want to become? Then I want you to journal out as much information that comes to mind. Keep writing and writing and writing for as long as you can until your wrist hurts the answer to this question. Who is your highest, most aligned, anxiety-free self? Get crystal clear on who she is, how she shows up, her perspectives of the world, her thoughts, her feelings, her rituals, everything. Get so clear on it. Just keep writing. And when you feel like you've written everything, keep going. Just keep allowing everything that is in your subconscious, everything in your intuitive mind to just get on the paper. And then once you've exhausted that, this is the fun part. This is when you challenge yourself to embody that new identity for a full 24 hours. I want you to prepare for this. Wake up one morning and decide this is the day that you practice assuming the identity of your highest, most aligned, anxiety-free self. And you do everything that you've written down, or as much as you can do in one day. And then I want you to just be curious, no expectations, just take note of what happens. Take note of the thoughts that you think, the energetic vibrations that feel different, the opportunities that may come your way, the way you talk to yourself, the way you feel in your body, the way you dress, the way you talk to other people. Do you smile at strangers when usually you just kind of keep your head down? And also take note of any points of resistance or points of discomfort. This is all data that can be useful in your evolving self-development journey. But ultimately, that is how you become her. You get really clear on who she is, and then you just start practicing and implementing. It's not waiting until you feel ready or waiting until you've cleared all of the cobwebs of the past. It's about really just going out and getting your hands dirty and going out and assuming the identity of that highest version of yourself. doing it messy, doing it confused, doing it raw and vulnerable, and then eventually over time, you will really begin to assume that identity, and it won't feel like you have to try. It'll feel like that's just who you are now. You fully stepped into and embodied her on a cellular level. You keep showing up every single day until you are her, until you realize that there's no pressure pushing the beach ball down, it's just naturally floating around the pool. Because here's the truth that I feel like not enough people in the wellness community really talk about, and it is this. Your highest self isn't a vibe. It's not a glow up. It's not an aesthetic. It's not a Pinterest board. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's grief. It is the ripping away of the old version of yourself and the fumbling of finding who you really are. It is deep soul work. It is getting so far away from your comfort zone, from where you feel safe, in order to take the risks and the leaps of faith to really become the version of yourself that is the most aligned and balanced. But it's also one of the most liberating, empowering, and exciting things that you could do in this lifetime. And when you make that shift, your anxiety no longer controls you anymore. You are human and you're meant to experience the full spectrum of emotions. So you will feel anxious from time to time, but it'll make sense. It'll be an adaptive response to a stressful situation. Anxiety will no longer be this like low hum in the background 24/7. It'll be a fleeting emotion here and there. And that is because you are no longer living as someone you are not. You are showing up and embodying who you truly are every single day. If this video resonated with you, I would love to hear your reflections and thoughts in the comments. This is the work that I love, love, love to do in my one-on-one sessions with my clients as a wellness counselor, as an energy medicine practitioner, and it was so fun to share this conversation with you today. If you're interested in diving even deeper into this work, then I encourage you to check out the Energy Reset, which is a guided meditation bundle of my top 11 guided meditations that I've recorded for my clients to help them release anxiety, holistically heal their mental health, and align with their highest self. If you're new here, I also have a free anxiety-free toolkit. Both of those things will be linked in the description if you want to browse. Thank you so much for spending a part of your day with me. I feel so grateful and so honored to be able to share my passion and my work with you. If this inspired you, then make sure to stick around and subscribe, like, comment, share with a friend, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!